No one understood the German businessman until the doorman spoke German. Klaus Müller gestured desperately in the lobby of the Plaza Hotel, trying to explain something urgent to the receptionist, who just shook her head in confusion. For 3 days, he had been repeating the same words in German, his eyes red from lack of sleep. But no one could understand what he so urgently needed to communicate. That's when Marcus Harrison, the night shift doorman, watched the scene repeat itself once more. The 52-year-old man who had worked there for 15 years approached slowly and said in perfect German, "May I help you, sir? I see you're having a hard time." Klaus turned around in surprise. His eyes filled with tears as he heard someone speaking his native language for the first time in days. "My daughter," he whispered in German. "She ran away and is hiding somewhere in this city. I need to find her before it's too late." Marcus led Klaus to one of the lobby armchairs. The German businessman, who looked about 45 but seemed to carry the weight of many more years, collapsed into the seat as if it were the first time in days that someone had truly listened to him. "Tell me everything from the beginning," Marcus asked, sitting beside him. Klaus took a deep breath. Anna, his only 17-year-old daughter, had run away from home after a terrible argument about the marriage he had arranged for her in Germany. The girl had taken the first flight to the USA, where he had business, believing she could hide in the crowd of a big city like New York. "Why did she choose the USA?" asked Marcus. "She always wanted to visit this country. She learned English behind my back, through online classes. When I found out, I forbade her to continue. I said it was a waste of time." Marcus felt a pang in his chest. As a doorman, he had known so many stories of families torn apart by pride and misunderstanding. "And why was the marriage so important to you?" Klaus hesitated. His hands trembled slightly as he fiddled with the wedding ring he still wore, even after 5 years since his wife's passing. "It's complicated," he murmured. But Marcus had time. It was early morning, the hotel had little movement, and something about that desperate man stirred his compassion. Maybe it was because he himself had a daughter, Madison, with whom he had barely spoken in 2 years after a fight about his night job. "Mr. Klaus, I've worked here a long time and learned one thing. Sometimes we need to tell our story to someone who won't judge us. I'm just a doorman, but I can listen." Klaus looked at Marcus. There was something in the calmness of that man, in the respectful way he spoke German with a New York accent, that made him feel safe. "My company is going bankrupt," he confessed. "Anna's marriage to Wilhelm, my partner's son, was the only way to keep everything going. But she found out that Wilhelm has been embezzling money from our business. That's why she ran away." "She wanted to protect you?" "Yes, but I couldn't see that at the time. I only saw a rebellious daughter who wanted to ruin my last plan to save what I had built over 20 years. Marcus was silent for a moment, processing the information. "And now? What do you plan to do when you find her?" "I don't know," Klaus admitted. "I only know I need her. Without Anna, I have nothing. When my wife left me, she said I was incapable of loving anything besides business. I'm afraid she was right." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Marcus stood up and extended his hand to Klaus. "Let's find her. I've worked at this hotel for 15 years. I know this city like no one else. And more importantly, I know what it's like to lose a daughter because of pride." Klaus shook Marcus's hand firmly. "Why are you willing to help me? You don't even know me." "Because every father deserves a second chance, and every daughter deserves a father who understands her." The next morning, Marcus finished his shift and met Klaus in the lobby. He had made a list of places where a young German woman might hide in New York: hostels in the Upper East Side, inns in Greenwich Village, boarding houses in Miami Beach. "Before we start," Marcus said, "I need to know more about Anna. What is she like? What are her tastes?" Klaus realized he had trouble answering. When was the last time he'd actually talked to his daughter about her dreams, fears, hopes? She likes music. She always listened to those American songs. Smooth jazz, folk music. She used to sing around the house. What else? Klaus thought hard. She likes learning languages. Besides English, she speaks French and a little Spanish, and she loves to cook. My wife taught her some German recipes before she... Past. Marcus mentally noted every detail. Let's start with the neighborhoods with the most cultural exchange. Greenwich Village has a lot of foreign artists. She might have been drawn there. They took a taxi to the bohemian neighborhood on the hills of New York. Marcus knew some local shopkeepers and began showing photos of Anna that Klaus had on his phone. At the third bakery they visited, Mrs. Gable, a 70-year-old woman who had worked there for decades, recognized the young woman immediately. "Oh, the little German girl," she exclaimed, "but she speaks English better than plenty of Americans. She comes here every morning to buy a sugar-dusted pastry and always asks about the recipes." Klaus felt his heart race. "Does she work somewhere nearby?" "She works at Miller's Bakery, 2 blocks down the hill. But boys, you won't find her now. She only works early in the morning, and in the afternoon she goes to guitar lessons at the school." Marcus translated for Klaus, who turned pale. "Guitar lessons? She never showed any interest in music when she was home." "Sometimes we only discover who we really are when we leave home," Marcus said gently. They walked down to Miller's Bakery. The man in his early 60s was putting bread in the oven when he saw them come in. "If you're looking for Anna, she's not here," he said before they even asked. "But I already know who you are." Klaus was startled. "What do you mean?" "The girl told me everything. That her father was going to force her to marry a man she didn't love to save the family business. That she found out that man was stealing from her father. And that she ran away because she didn't know how to make her father listen." Marcus translated carefully, watching Klaus's expression change with every word. "Where is she now?" Klaus asked in hesitant English. Mr. Miller was surprised to hear him trying to speak the local language. "I can't say. She asked me not to tell if anyone came looking, but I can give her a message." Klaus looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "Tell her that her father wants to talk. Just talk. No arranged marriage, no pressure, just father and daughter." Mr. Miller studied Klaus for a long moment. "She might show up here tomorrow morning. If she does, I'll give her the message. But son, that girl is suffering a lot. She cries in secret when she thinks no one's watching." On the way back to the hotel, Marcus and Klaus walked in silence along the Miami boardwalk. The late afternoon sun painted the sky in golden hues, and the waves broke gently on the sand. "She's crying," Klaus murmured. "My daughter is crying and I didn't even know." "You're suffering too," Marcus observed. "Sometimes the people we love most are the ones we hurt the most, because we're afraid of losing them." Klaus stopped walking and stared at the sea. "My wife left me because she said I only knew how to express love through control, that I tried to protect people by controlling their lives. And now, I'm doing the same thing with Anna." "But recognizing that is already a start," said Marcus. "My daughter Madison hasn't spoken to me in 2 years. She wanted to study music in college. I insisted she go into business. I said music didn't pay the bills, that it was a bum's life." Klaus looked at Marcus with new understanding. "And did she go into business?" "She did, and she's unhappy. She works at a company, makes good money, but every time she sees me, I see in her eyes that she's lost her joy for living." They stood there, 2 fathers who had hurt their daughters trying to protect them. "So why are you helping me?" asked Klaus. "Because maybe by helping you reconcile with Anna, I'll learn how to reconcile with Madison." That night, Klaus could barely sleep at the hotel. He kept imagining Anna working at a bakery, learning guitar, living a life he never knew she wanted. How could he have been so far from his own daughter? The next morning, Marcus accompanied him again to Miller's Bakery. The man saw them arrive and waved. "She stopped by early this morning," he said. "She got the message. She said she'll think about it." Klaus felt a mix of hope and apprehension. "Anything else?" "She asked me to ask her father something." Mr. Miller looked directly at Klaus. "She wants to know if you remember the song she used to sing when she was little, the one her mother taught her." Klaus closed his eyes. Of course he remembered. "Die Gedanken sind frei." Thoughts are free. A German song about freedom that his wife always sang to Anna to help her fall asleep. "I remember," he said, his voice trembling. "Does she want me to sing it?" "I think she just wants to make sure you still remember when she was just your little girl, before she became a piece on your business chessboard." Marcus translated the words carefully, watching Klaus discreetly wipe his eyes. "I'll sing it," said Klaus. "Where?" "In the square in front of the Greenwich Village School of Music. Today at 5 in the afternoon. If she wants to show up, she will." Klaus spent the whole day rehearsing the song. His voice was hoarse from nerves, but Marcus encouraged him, even humming along to some parts he recognized from the melody. At 5 in the afternoon, they were in the small square in front of the Greenwich Village School of Music. There were a few people sitting on benches, children playing, elderly people playing chess. Klaus took a deep breath and began to sing Die Gedanken sind frei, with a trembling voice full of emotion. Marcus stood a few feet away, giving him space but staying close in case he needed support. In the middle of the second verse, Klaus saw a familiar figure approaching slowly. Anna looked different, thinner, in simple clothes, her hair tied in a messy ponytail. But she had the same blue eyes she had inherited from her mother. She stopped a few feet away, listening to her father sing the song of her childhood. When he finished, they looked at each other in silence for a long moment. "You came," said Klaus in German. "You sang our song," Anna replied, also in German. Marcus moved back a little more, respecting the intimate moment between father and daughter. "I'm sorry, Anna, for everything. I'm sorry too, Dad, for running away like this. But I didn't know how to make you listen." Klaus took a hesitant step toward his daughter. "I'm listening now. Tell me everything. About the English you learned in secret, about the work at the bakery, about the guitar lessons. I want to know who my real daughter is." Anna looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. "It's the doorman who helped me find you," explained Klaus. "He speaks German and has a daughter too." Anna approached and greeted Marcus in English. "Thank you for helping my father. He must have suffered a lot these days." "You both have suffered," said Marcus. "Now it's time to talk." They sat down on a bench in the square. Anna told him about how she discovered the irregularities in Wilhelm's business through documents she saw in her father's office. She told him about her dream of studying music and languages, about how she fell in love with American culture through the songs she used to listen to in secret. Klaus listened without interrupting. For the first time in years, he was actually paying attention to his daughter as a person, not as an extension of his plans. "Wilhelm really is embezzling money," Anna explained. "I have copies of the documents that prove it. I kept everything before I ran away." "Why didn't you tell me directly?" "I tried, Dad. But whenever I talked about the company or about Wilhelm, you told me to mind my own business. You said women don't understand business." Klaus felt a pang of guilt. It was true. He had always treated Anna as if she were incapable of understanding the adult world. "And now," he asked, "what do you want to do?" Anna looked at her own hands. "I want to help you save the company, but my way. No arranged marriages, no Wilhelm, and I want to keep studying music." Klaus felt a mix of pride and shame. His daughter was more mature and courageous than he had ever acknowledged. "How can we save the company without the merger with Wilhelm's family?" Anna smiled for the first time since she had arrived. "I learned a lot about business by watching you all these years, even when you thought I wasn't paying attention. And here in the USA, I've met people who can help us." Marcus discreetly approached. "Sorry to interrupt, but it's getting late. Why don't you continue this conversation at the hotel? I can ask them to prepare a private dinner for you. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to hit like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out." Now continuing, Klaus and Anna accepted the suggestion. In the taxi back to the hotel, Anna explained that she had met Nathan Crawford, a 23-year-old musician who was also studying business administration. His family owned a small company that exported American products to Europe. "He's not just some carefree musician," Anna explained. "He has a degree in business administration from NYU, speaks 4 languages, and is helping expand his family's business." Klaus listened carefully. His daughter spoke of Nathan with a sparkle in her eyes that he hadn't seen in years. "You like him," he observed. Anna blushed slightly. "I do, but it's not just that, Dad. He has interesting ideas for expanding German businesses in the American market, and his family is honest and hard-working. At the hotel, Marcus led them to a small private dining room where the chef had prepared a special dinner. Anna was impressed by the doorman's kindness. "Did you really do all this for us?" she asked. "I did it for you and for myself too," Marcus admitted. "I'm learning a lot by watching how you're trying to reconnect." Over dinner, Klaus and Anna talked more honestly than they had in years. Anna showed him the documents she had copied, proving Wilhelm's irregularities. Klaus was impressed by his daughter's organization and sharpness. "How did you get access to all of this?" "Wilhelm didn't know I was studying business English online. When he spoke in code with his associates, I understood everything, and he always left documents lying around thinking no one in the family would be interested." Klaus shook his head, impressed and ashamed. "You're more observant than me. How could I have underestimated you so much?" "Because you were afraid," Anna said gently. "Afraid I'd make the same mistakes you did. Afraid I'd get hurt. But by controlling me, you ended up hurting me in a different way." Marcus, who had been discreetly standing in the corner of the room, approached. "Can I make a suggestion?" he asked. Father and daughter looked at him. "Why don't you arrange a meeting with this Wilhelm guy here at the hotel? Neutral ground. With these documents you have bargaining power." Klaus considered the idea. "But what if he refuses to come?" "He won't refuse," said Anna. "He still thinks he's going to get the marriage and the company merger. He'll want to resolve this." Marcus nodded. "And meanwhile, how about we meet this Nathan? If he really has business proposals, it might be worth hearing him out." Anna looked nervously at her father. "Would you be open to meeting him?" Klaus took a deep breath. He still felt an instinctive resistance to the idea of his daughter getting romantically involved with someone, especially someone he hadn't chosen. But looking at Anna, seeing how she had matured, he realized he needed to trust her judgment. "I'm open to it," he finally said. Anna smiled and picked up her phone. "He's rehearsing at the school. Can I call him?" Klaus nodded. Half an hour later, Nathan Crawford arrived at the hotel. He was a tall, lean young man with a tan skin and a warm smile. He greeted Klaus respectfully in German, surprising him. "I learned a little to impress Anna," Nathan said, smiling, "but I'm still just getting the hang of it." Klaus appreciated the boy's honesty. "Anna tells me you have business proposals." Nathan opened a folder he had brought. "My family has been working with exports of American products for 15 years. Specialty coffee, nuts, acai powder, artisan goods. We have contacts in Europe, but we've never been able to enter the German market because we didn't have local representation." Klaus examined the documents Nathan presented. The numbers were solid, the business plan well structured. "And what would the proposal be?" "A partnership. You'd help us enter the German market, we'd help you diversify here in the USA. Anna told me your company works with importing industrial equipment." "That's right." "Well, the USA is going through an industrial modernization boom, especially in the food sector. Our network of contacts could help a lot." Klaus looked at Anna, who was following the conversation attentively. "Did you help him prepare this presentation?" "We helped each other," said Anna. "I explained how the German market works. He taught me about the American market. We're learning together." Marcus, who was observing the interaction, was impressed by the maturity of the young people. "And what about the financial side?" asked Klaus. Nathan showed detailed spreadsheets. "Our company has capital to invest in the partnership. We wouldn't need you to put money in initially, just the expertise and German contacts." Klaus was starting to get interested in the proposal when his phone rang. It was Wilhelm. "He's calling," said Klaus, showing the name on the screen. Anna tensed up. "Answer it, Dad, but don't confirm anything about the marriage yet." Klaus answered in German. Wilhelm was furious, demanding to know where Anna was, and pressing for confirmation of the wedding date. Klaus managed to keep him calm, saying Anna had returned and was willing to talk about the future. "He wants a meeting tomorrow," said Klaus after hanging up. "Here at the hotel." "Perfect," said Anna. "Let's put an end to this story once and for all." Nathan looked worried. "Can I help in any way?" "You can, actually," said Marcus. "Do you know a reliable lawyer? It might be good to have legal guidance for this meeting." Nathan nodded. My cousin is a lawyer specializing in international business law. I can call him. Klaus was surprised once again. This young man he had quickly judged as just a dreamy musician had a solid network of professional contacts. That night, Klaus had the best night's sleep since he'd arrived in the USA. Anna had returned to the hotel and was in the room next to his. For the first time in months, he felt there might be a way to solve their problems without sacrificing his daughter's happiness. The next morning, Marcus came to work early to help prepare for the meeting. The hotel had made available a small but elegant conference room. How are you feeling? Marcus asked Klaus. Nervous but optimistic. For the first time in a long while, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. Anna arrived accompanied by Nathan and his cousin, Dr. David Crawford, a serious but friendly man of 35. I analyzed the documents you sent me, Dr. David said. Wilhelm has indeed committed serious irregularities. You have a very strong position to negotiate from. At 10 in the morning, Wilhelm arrived at the hotel. He was a bulky man of 50 with an authoritarian air. He greeted Klaus coldly and looked at Anna with disdain. So the runaway decided to show up, he said in German. Anna replied calmly, I came to resolve this situation like adults. Wilhelm laughed sarcastically. An adult? You're a spoiled child who almost ruined her father's business with her tantrums. Marcus, who was present as a witness, noticed the shift in Anna's posture. The young woman did not back down. Actually, Anna said, still in German, I came to save my father's business. And yours too. She opened her briefcase with the documents and laid everything on the table. These are copies of your irregular transactions from the last 2 years. Embezzlement, phantom contracts, tax evasion. Wilhelm went pale. Where did you get that? You always underestimated me, just like my father did. You thought because I'm young and a woman I wouldn't be able to understand business, but I understood every word you exchanged. Dr. David introduced himself and began explaining the legal implications of the documents. Wilhelm tried to deny it, but the evidence was irrefutable. What do you want? Wilhelm finally asked. Klaus looked at Anna, who nodded encouragingly. We want you to withdraw from the partnership voluntarily. You can keep your share of the legitimate assets, but without rights to future contracts. And in exchange? In exchange, we do not present these documents to the authorities, Dr. David said. Wilhelm fell silent for several minutes, analyzing the documents and his options. And the marriage? Anna stood up. There never was a marriage. There was a deal my father thought was necessary to save the company, but we found other ways to save it. Klaus was surprised by his daughter's confidence. What other ways? Wilhelm asked skeptically. Nathan stepped forward and presented his proposal for a partnership. For 20 minutes, he explained the potential of the American market and how it could compensate for the loss of the partnership with Wilhelm. Wilhelm listened with growing attention. Do you really believe this can work? I believe so, Klaus said, and more importantly, my daughter believes it. And she has proven she understands business better than I thought. After 2 hours of negotiation, Wilhelm agreed to withdraw from the partnership. They signed a preliminary agreement with a 30-day deadline for formalization. When Wilhelm left, there was a moment of silence in the room. We did it, Anna said, collapsing into a chair. Klaus approached his daughter and hugged her. You did it. I've just been in the way lately. That's not true, Dad. You taught me everything I know about business. It was just time for me to apply that knowledge in my own way. Nathan smiled. And now? Shall we move forward with the partnership? Klaus looked around the room. Marcus was in the corner, discreetly smiling. Dr. David was organizing the documents. Nathan was tenderly holding Anna's hand. Let's, Klaus said, but this time as a real family. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and hit the like button and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now continuing. In the following weeks, Klaus stayed in the USA to structure the new partnership. Marcus became not just a friend, but an informal advisor. The doorman, who spoke German fluently thanks to years of self-study during the quiet early mornings at the hotel, turned out to be a valuable cultural bridge between the two families. Anna split her time between helping with the business setup and continuing her music lessons. Klaus, initially reluctant, started attending a few recitals at the school and was surprised by his daughter's talent. "How did I not realize you had this gift?" he asked after a recital where Anna played a beautiful adaptation of Für Elise on the guitar. "Because you never stopped to truly listen," Anna replied without any bitterness in her voice, "but now you're listening." The partnership between Klaus's German company and the Crawford family proved promising from the start. Nathan proved to be not only a talented musician, but also a competent manager. His family welcomed Klaus with open arms, including him in Sunday lunches and family gatherings. "It's different from Germany," Klaus remarked to Marcus one afternoon as they had coffee on the hotel veranda. "Here, families really mix. They get to know each other deeply." "That's our culture," Marcus said. "We believe business is done between people, not just between companies." Klaus had begun to understand that. In the 2 months he spent in New York, he learned more about human relationships than in the last 10 years. But not everything was smooth sailing. One afternoon, Anna arrived at the hotel visibly disturbed. "What happened?" Klaus asked, worried. "I got a call from Germany. My mother wants to talk to me." Klaus felt his stomach knot. Gisela, his ex-wife, had moved to France after the divorce and kept minimal contact with Anna. "What did she say?" "She heard through mutual acquaintances that you were in the USA, that I ran away from home. She wants me to go live with her in Paris." Klaus felt the world collapse again. After winning back his daughter, could he lose her to his ex-wife? "And what did you answer?" "That I need to think. Dad, I love you and I love what we're building here, but she's my mother. And maybe she's changed too." Marcus, who was organizing some papers at the nearby reception desk, discreetly approached. "Can I give an opinion?" Klaus and Anna looked at him. "You two have changed a lot these weeks. Klaus, you learned to listen. Anna, you learned to trust your father, but maybe it's also important to give Gisela a chance to show if she's changed." "What do you mean?" Anna asked. "What if she came to the USA? That way you can talk as a family without anyone having to abandon what they're building here." Klaus felt a shiver. Seeing Gisela again would be tough, but Marcus was right. Anna deserved the chance to have a complete family. "Would you be up for that?" he asked Anna. "I would, but only if you're comfortable with it, Dad." Klaus took a deep breath. "I will be. We all deserve a second chance." Gisela arrived in New York 2 weeks later. Klaus was as nervous as a teenager on a first date. He had gained a little weight, was grayer, and wondered how she would see him after 5 years. Anna picked her up at the airport. When they got to the hotel, Klaus was on the lobby veranda with Marcus. Gisela was as beautiful as ever. Blonde, elegant, with her 42 years worn well. But there was something different in her eyes, less hardness, more sadness. "Klaus," she said in German, approaching hesitantly. "Gisela, thank you for coming." They greeted each other formally, but Anna noticed there was still a lot of unresolved feeling between her parents. Marcus Harrison introduced himself and offered to have the family conversation in private, but Gisela surprised everyone. "Are you the doorman who helped my daughter and my ex-husband find each other again?" "Yes, Ma'am, I am." "Then you're part of this story. You can stay." In the days that followed, Gisela got to know the new life Klaus and Anna were building. She visited the Crawford family business, attended Anna's recitals, and had long talks with Nathan. "He's a good young man," she told Klaus one night as they walked along the Miami boardwalk. "Our daughter chose well." "So you approve?" Gisela stopped walking and looked at her ex-husband. "Klaus, I left you because I thought you only knew how to love by controlling. But seeing how you're treating Anna now, how you're respecting her choices, I realize you've grown." Klaus felt a mix of relief and melancholy. "I grew too late to save our marriage, but not too late to be a good father, and that's what matters now." They stood in silence, listening to the waves break on the sand. "Gisela, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you happy in Paris?" She took a moment to answer. "I'm independent. I have my work, my friends, my freedom. But happy," she sighed. "Happiness is a complicated word." Anna wants you to live in the USA. Not permanently, but she suggested I spend some time here to get to know this new version of our family better. Klaus liked the idea. That would be good. Anna needs her mother too. And you, Klaus? What do you need? He thought about the question. I need to learn to be a better person every day. I need to keep listening more and talking less, and I need to accept that our daughter has the right to her own life. At the end of 2 weeks, Gisela decided to return to Paris, but with plans to come back to the USA in 3 months. I'm going to start studying English, she said. If our daughter is going to live here, I need at least to be able to communicate with her family. Anna cried at the airport saying goodbye to her mother, but they were tears of hope, not sadness. She's changed, Anna said to Klaus in the taxi on the way back. She's still difficult, but she's trying to be different. We're all trying to be different, Klaus replied. 2 months later, the day of Anna's first big performance at the school arrived. She had composed a piece that mixed elements of classical German music with American folk rhythms. Klaus was in the front row, as nervous as if he were performing himself. Marcus Harrison was beside him, along with Madison, his daughter, whom he had finally managed to win back after months of difficult conversations. Is she nervous? Madison asked Marcus. A little, but she's ready. When Anna stepped onto the stage, Klaus felt pride burst in his chest. His daughter, beautiful and confident, held her guitar and smiled at the audience. This song, she said in English, I dedicate to my father, who learned that love is not control, but freedom. And to Marcus, who taught us that sometimes the most important people are the ones who show up when we least expect them. The music she played was the most beautiful Klaus had ever heard. Tears streamed down his face without him trying to hide them. After the performance, Anna was surrounded by friends and teachers, but her eyes immediately searched for her father. Did you like it? She asked, still breathless from the performance. It was perfect, Klaus said, hugging her. You are perfect. I am not perfect, Dad, but I'm your daughter, and that's enough for me. Nathan approached, beaming. Klaus, can I speak with you in private? Klaus knew what was coming. Over the past few months, he had watched the relationship between Nathan and Anna bloom naturally and respectfully. They moved to a more secluded corner of the hall. I want to ask Anna to marry me, Nathan said directly. I know it's very early, and it doesn't have to be now, but I wanted your blessing first. Klaus looked at the young man. Nathan had proven himself hard-working, honest, caring with Anna, and respectful to the whole family. You have my blessing, said Klaus, but are you sure Anna will say yes? Nathan smiled. I am, because we've talked about everything, about our plans, our dreams, our fears, and we want to build it all together. And the business? The partnership? It'll continue. Actually, it'll get even stronger. Anna wants to major in business administration too, so she can officially work at the company. She has amazing ideas for expanding into other Latin American countries. Klaus shook his head, impressed. His daughter kept surprising him. 3 months later, on a sunny Sunday in December, Nathan proposed to Anna at a party at the Crawford family's house. Gisela had come back especially for the occasion. Anna said yes, and the party stretched late into the night. Klaus, who had never been much of a dancer, ventured a few folk dance steps taught by the Crawford family. You're happy, observed Marcus, who had practically become a member of the family. I am. For the first time in years, I'm truly happy. And the business? Better than ever. Anna was right. Partnering with the Crawford family was the best decision we ever made. Marcus smiled. You know, Klaus, when I met you that first night at the hotel, I thought you were just another desperate businessman. I never imagined you would become this, which is a better father, a better man, and if you don't mind my saying, a friend. Klaus was moved. Marcus had become much more than a friend. He was like the older brother he'd never had. Marcus, can I make a proposal? Of course. How about you leave the hotel and come work with us? We need someone to coordinate international relations here in the USA. Someone who understands different cultures and languages. Marcus was surprised. But I don't have a business background. You have something much more valuable, wisdom. And besides, Anna and Nathan can teach you the technical side." Marcus looked around the party. His daughter Madison was chatting animatedly with Anna about music. His ex-wife, present at Madison's insistence, was dancing with one of Nathan's uncles. "I accept," said Marcus, "but with one condition." "What?" "I want to help open a language school for underprivileged youth. Use our story to show how knowing other languages can open doors." Klaus extended his hand. "Deal." Anna and Nathan's wedding was set for 6 months later, enough time for all the preparations and for Gisela to arrange to spend more time in the USA. During those months, the company thrived beyond all expectations. The partnership opened doors not only in the USA, but throughout Latin America. Klaus discovered he enjoyed building bridges between cultures much more than just focusing on profits. Marcus left the hotel in an emotional farewell. All the staff knew the story of the doorman who helped reunite a German family, and he left laden with affection and good wishes. The week before the wedding, Klaus received a surprise. Wilhelm, his former partner, called asking for a talk. They met in the same hotel ballroom where the confrontation had taken place months before. "I came to apologize," said Wilhelm directly, "and to make you a proposal." Klaus listened in surprise as Wilhelm explained that after leaving the partnership, he had undergone a deep reflection on his business and personal conduct. "I managed to renegotiate my debts and rebuild my company honestly," said Wilhelm. "And I'd like to propose a specific partnership for a few projects." "Why?" asked Klaus. "Because I realized that you and Anna found something I never had. Integrity. And I want to learn that." Klaus spoke with Anna and Nathan about the proposal. They decided to give Wilhelm a chance, but with clear contracts and regular external audits. "Everyone deserves a second chance," said Anna, "but trust is built slowly." The wedding was an unforgettable celebration. The ceremony took place at a historic church in Greenwich Village, followed by a party on a hotel rooftop overlooking the Hudson River. Klaus gave a speech in English, a language he had studied intensely over the past few months. A year ago, he said, "I was a lost man. I thought I knew everything about life, about business, about love, but I was wrong about almost everything." The audience listened, deeply moved. "My daughter taught me that love isn't control, it's trust. Nathan taught me that family is chosen, not just inherited. Marcus taught me that wisdom has nothing to do with a diploma or social status." Klaus looked at Anna, radiant in her wedding gown. "Anna, you became the brave and wise woman you always were inside, but whom I was preventing from shining. Forgive me for the years when I didn't know how to listen to you." Anna stood up and hugged her father, not caring if she wrinkled her dress. "Thank you for having the courage to change, Dad." Marcus, who was Anna's best man, stood up to give his speech. "I met Klaus in the early hours of the morning, when he was just a desperate man no one understood. Today he is part of my family, just as I have become part of his." He looked at his own daughter, Madison, who was seated at the head table. "This story taught me that it's never too late to win back those we love. That small gestures like speaking someone's language can change entire lives." During the reception, Klaus danced the traditional father-daughter waltz with Anna. Midway through the song, she whispered, "Dad, do you remember that night in the hotel elevator when we were stuck during the storm? I remember. That was the first time we really talked in years. You said you were afraid of failing as a father. I want you to know, you didn't fail. You learned. And that makes all the difference." Klaus felt his eyes well up again. "You saved me, Anna. You saved me from the bitter man I was becoming." "No, Dad. You saved yourself. I just waited until you were ready to listen." When the music ended, Nathan approached to dance with his wife. Klaus watched the young couple, seeing how they looked at each other with genuine love and mutual respect. Gisela appeared beside him. "They're happy," she observed. "They are, the way they deserve to be." "Klaus, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Do you still have feelings for me?" Klaus thought carefully about his answer. "I feel affection, respect, gratitude for giving me Anna. But romantic love, that's in the past. And you?" Gisela smiled sadly. Same here. But you know what I do feel? Pride. Pride in seeing the man you've become. And relief that our daughter has the father she always deserved. They stood there, watching Anna and Nathan dance, two former spouses who had finally found peace with each other. In the months following the wedding, life settled into a happy new routine. Klaus split his time between Germany and the USA, but he spent more and more time in New York. Anna and Nathan gradually took on more responsibilities at the company, bringing innovations and expanding the business. Marcus flourished in his new role. He discovered he was a natural negotiator and a facilitator of international relationships. The language school they had planned became a reality, offering free courses for young people from underprivileged communities. One day, Klaus was organizing papers in his office when Anna arrived with news that left him speechless. "Dad, I'm pregnant." Klaus was silent for a long moment, processing the information. "You're going to be a grandfather," said Anna, smiling. Klaus stood up slowly and hugged his daughter. "A baby," he murmured. "I'm going to get a second chance to be a grandfather from the very beginning." "You're going to be a wonderful grandfather," Anna said, "because now you know how to listen." When the baby was born, 7 months later, she was a girl. Anna and Nathan named her Claire, and Klaus fell completely in love with his little granddaughter. "She has her mother's eyes," said Gisela, who had come specially to meet her granddaughter. "And Nathan's smile," added Klaus, holding Claire in his arms with all the care in the world. Marcus, who had become the child's godfather, watched the scene, moved. "You know what's the most beautiful thing about all this?" he commented. "What?" asked Klaus. "This girl is going to grow up in a family where everyone respects each other, listens to each other, truly loves each other. She will never know the controlling, bitter Klaus that I met that first night." Klaus looked at his little granddaughter. "Claire," he said softly in German, "your grandfather promises he will always listen to you, always respect your dreams, and always love you exactly as you are." The baby smiled, as if she had understood every word. 2 years later, at an event celebrating the success of their business partnership, Klaus was on the stage of the hotel where it all began. Marcus was in the audience, along with the entire extended family they had built. 3 years ago, Klaus said to the audience of American and German business people, "I was a man who didn't know the difference between loving and controlling, who thought success was measured only in numbers." He looked at Anna, who was in the front row holding Claire. "Today I know that true success is measured by the quality of the relationships we build, by the ability to listen without judging, by the courage to change when we realize we're wrong." Klaus searched for Marcus in the audience. "A doorman who spoke German taught me that understanding goes far beyond languages. It's about having empathy, patience, and above all, the humility to recognize when we need help." Marcus smiled, as discreet as ever. "Our company didn't just thrive because we found good business partners, but because we learned to be a family. And families are built on foundations of trust, respect, and unconditional love." At the end of the event, Klaus, Marcus, Anna, Nathan, and their respective families gathered in the same lobby where it all began. "Do you know what I'm thinking?" said Klaus. "What?" everyone asked. "That sometimes the best things in life start with misunderstandings. If I had arrived here speaking perfect English, maybe I never would have met Marcus. If Anna hadn't run away, maybe we never would have learned to truly listen to each other." Anna shook her head. "Sometimes we need to get lost to find ourselves." "And sometimes," added Marcus, "we need someone who speaks our language not just with their mouth, but with their heart." Claire, now 2 years old, ran through the lobby babbling a funny mix of English and German, playfully chased by Nathan. "She's going to grow up bilingual, bicultural," observed Gisela, who was visiting once again. "Tricultural," corrected Klaus. "American, German, and above all, human." That night, after everyone had left, Klaus and Marcus stayed alone in the hotel bar, having one last drink. "Marcus, can I tell you a secret?" said Klaus. "Sure." "That first night when you approached and spoke German to me, you know what my first thought was?" "What?" Why does a doorman speak German better than my executives? And then, how can this simple man give me more comfort in 5 minutes than my lawyers did in 5 years? Marcus laughed. And you know what my first thought was when I saw you? What? This man is suffering the same way I suffered when I fought with Madison. I need to help him. They silently clinked glasses. To misunderstandings that turn into blessings, said Klaus. And doormen who speak German, added Marcus, laughing. The end of the story. E.C. Now tell me, which part of the story moved you the most? Could you feel how Klaus and Anna managed to find each other again through Marcus's help? Leave in the comments the moment that touched you the most, and if you've ever been through something similar in your family. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the story, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.